humans become the predator. Karenine was no longer just a Deathworld. It was a proving ground. Humans had survived months of storms, predators, and poisonous air. Now they were beginning to control it. Commander Rook led a patrol across jagged cliffs. They carried makeshift weapons, tools sharpened from stone and metal. Their eyes scanned every shadow, every movement. No longer victims, they were hunters. The first kill came at dawn. A massive predator had been stalking the camp for hours. Its claws tore through rocks. Its roar shook the ground, but humans waited. Using traps they had learned from observation, the creature fell, stunned by clever ingenuity. It was their first true victory. Not for survival, but for dominance. Every day, humans studied the ecosystem. They tracked the largest predators. They observed their patterns, weaknesses, and strengths. Humans learned to use the storms to their advantage. Lightning strikes became signals, and poisonous rivers were pathways. Only humans could cross safely. Children, too, became skilled hunters. They learned silently, carefully. They carried small weapons and tools. They helped set traps and bring food, even in danger. They moved with focus and courage. Human settlements grew stronger. Shelters were reinforced with stone and metal. Defensive barriers surrounded camps. Alert systems made from scrap metal clanged loudly at the approach of predators. No creature attacked without warning. No human was ever caught unprepared. The galaxy's drones recorded these changes. Analysts in orbit were astonished. Humans were not only surviving, they were learning, adapting, and mastering Karenine for the first time. The Deathworld had met its match. Commander Rook gathered his leaders under the glow of a dim cave. "We are no longer defending ourselves," he said. "We are taking control. Every predator we face, every storm we survive, makes us stronger." The officers nodded silently, understanding that shift, survival was no longer enough. Dominance was now the goal. Groups went out daily to hunt the deadliest creatures. They used bait, traps, and clever distraction. They learned to avoid unnecessary risk, and they discovered strange new life forms. Some were dangerous, some were useful, all of them were lessons. Predators began to fear humans. Some animals avoided areas they had once ruled. Even the storms seemed to bend around human settlements. Humans had become the force that Karenine could not kill. Children watched and learned from the adults. Every skill, every strategy, every movement was taught. Even the youngest understood the importance of patience and cunning. They were not just survivors, they were students of the Deathworld, and soon they would become masters. The first night after a successful hunt, humans celebrated quietly, not loudly, but with a sense of achievement. They had proven themselves to the planet itself, and for the first time, Karenine was not an enemy, it was a teacher, and humans had begun to understand its lessons fully. Above them, the galaxy watched in disbelief. The Deathworld that had claimed countless species had been conquered by humans, not through power alone, but through intelligence, courage, and unity. The galaxy had sent humans to die, but humans had returned as predators, ready to rewrite the rules. Karenine no longer decided who survived. Humans did, and the galaxy had yet to realize that the students of the Deathworld were becoming unstoppable. The Galactic Mystica, the Galactic Council had watched the drones for months. Humans were no longer weak, no longer struggling. They moved with purpose, skill, and unity. The Council whispered among themselves, uneasy. Perhaps the Deathworld was a mistake, but pride and fear prevented them from acting immediately. They decided to send a fleet to reclaim Karenine. Ships were sleek, armed with the latest weapons. Commanders were confident. Certain humans would be easy to defeat. They believed they were returning to a planet of victims. The fleet entered orbit above Karenine. Sensors scanned for signs of life. Drones reported settlements, small but organized. Commanders laughed. Surviving? Yes. Threatening? Impossible. Meanwhile, humans on the surface had noticed the fleet. Their eyes tracked the shapes in the sky. Commander Rook assembled his officers. "We have prepared for this," he said calmly. "Every storm, every cliff, every predator we have faced has taught us. This is our test." As the fleet approached, human defenses activated. Hidden weapons powered by Karenine's strange minerals fired silently. Missiles struck before ships could react. Electromagnetic pulses disrupted navigation. The Deathworld itself seemed to join humans in their defense. The council was shocked. Reports came in frantic waves. Ships destroyed, signals blocked, humans organized. Commander Rook spoke to his team. "We do not attack to destroy," he said, "but we will show them that they misjudged us." Teams moved with precision, targeting only the fleet, avoiding unnecessary deaths. They were careful, calculated, and unstoppable. The fleet tried to retreat, but the Deathworld worked against them. Storms redirected their paths. Cliffs and mountains became barriers. Even the atmosphere seemed to resist their ships. It was not just human skill. Kara 9 itself had become an ally. The council scrambled to respond. Messages were sent to the fleet. Return immediately. Do not engage humans. Panic replaced pride. Fear replaced confidence. But humans had learned patience. They allowed the retreat. Commanders observed calmly. Every detail recorded, every weakness noted. They understood the galaxy better than the galaxy understood them. Commander Rook addressed his people after the confrontation. "This is only the beginning," he said. "The galaxy sent us to die. But we lived, we learned, and we adapted. Now they see us as dangerous, and that is true." Humans began reinforcing their settlements. Training was intensified. Young recruits became skilled warriors and strategists. Every human understood the stakes. Every action was measured. The council finally admitted the truth. Humans were no longer weak. They were intelligent, disciplined, united. They had turned the Deathworld into a weapon, and the galaxy had underestimated them. For the first time, the council feared the humans, not because they had survived, but because they had grown stronger in ways no one could predict. The Deathworld had not destroyed humanity. It had perfected it, and the galaxy's mistake was clear. No one had expected that sending humans to die would create something the entire galaxy would one day fear. The outcome the galaxy fears had changed. No longer a Deathworld, it had become a forge, a place where humans were no longer prey, but predators and masters. Commander Rook walked across the scarred plains. His eyes scanned the horizon. Every hill, every storm, every predator had been studied. Every human in the settlements had grown stronger. They were ready, not just to survive, but to dominate. The Galactic Council watched from afar. They tried to send emissaries, scientists, even diplomats. All failed. The humans were no longer dependent, no longer weak. They refused contact. Their message was clear. We survived on our own. Other species whispered in fear. Deathworlds were no longer punishments. They were warnings. Because humans thrived where others would die, they learned, adapted, and became unstoppable. The children of Kara 9 moved silently, learning the ways of the planet. They carried tools, strategists, and knowledge of predators. Every generation grew stronger. Every human understood unity, discipline, and courage. And the galaxy watched, powerless. Commanders on orbiting fleets tried to predict human actions. They studied the planet, the settlements, the weapons, but humans had become unpredictable. They did not act from fear or pride. They acted with purpose, intelligence, and patience. The Deathworld had taught them well, and the galaxy could not control the lessons learned back on Kara 9. Rook gathered his leaders one evening. "The galaxy sent us to die," he said, "but we are alive, and we have learned, adapted, and grown." He looked at the red sky. The galaxy feared us before it understood us, and now it will never ignore us again. Human settlements expanded carefully. They explored new territories. They mapped rivers, forests, mountains, and storms. They tamed dangerous beasts, used natural hazards as defenses. Every action reinforced their strength. Every failure was a lesson. Every victory a preparation for the future. Above them, the galaxy finally acknowledged the truth. Humans were not the weak species they had underestimated. They were intelligent, disciplined, united. They were survivors and conquerors. It had created something no other planet could, something the galaxy could not predict. A final message was broadcast from the humansettlements.com, confident and firm, to those who sent us here. Do not test us again. To those who watch from afar, do not assume weakness. We are humans, and we survive. We adapt, we grow, and we will never be controlled. The Deathworld was conquered. Humanity was forged in its fires, and the galaxy had no choice but to fear, not just their survival, but their power, their intelligence, their unity, their unstoppable potential. They had sent humans to die, but the humans returned, stronger, wiser, and ready, and the galaxy realized, too late. That the Deathworld had not destroyed humanity. It had created something the galaxy could never control again, and so, Kara 9 became known as the Human Forge, a symbol of fear, respect, and awe across the stars, because wherever humans went, life would follow, challenges would be met, and nothing could stop them. The galaxy would never forget what happens when humans survive a death. The sentence to death. Tall alien leaders sat in floating seats, watching the humans with cold eyes. Humans stood in simple restraints, tired but calm. He'd been blamed for wars, rebellions, and broken treaties across the galaxy. The council speaker rose slowly and spoke with a sharp voice. Humans are unstable and dangerous. They adapt fast and refuse to obey. For the safety of the galaxy, they are sentenced to exile. A massive star map appeared in the air. One planet glowed red, marked with warning symbols. The name echoed through the chamber. Kara 9. Every species knew that name. A Deathworld, a planet with crushing gravity, deadly storms, and savage life forms. No intelligent species had survived there for long. The council expected fear. They expected screams or begging, but the humans did none of that. They simply looked at the planet and then at each other. One human officer, Commander Elias Rook, lifted his head. His face was bruised, but his eyes were steady. He asked one question: "Is the sentence permanent?" The council speaker answered quickly, "Yes, no rescue, no return." A quiet murmur passed through the human group. Some felt fear, some felt anger, but something else appeared too: determination. The transport ships were prepared within hours. Old vessels stripped of weapons and comforts. The council wanted the humans to arrive weak. They wanted nature to finish the job. As the ships left the capital world, billions of eyes across the galaxy watched. News channels called it the end of humanity. Analysts predicted extinction within weeks. Commentators moved on to other stories. The journey to Kara 9 was long and silent. Inside the ships, humans spoke quietly. They planned, they argued, they adapted. Commander Rook addressed them before arrival. His voice was calm and clear. "This world will try to kill us, but we are still human, and humans survive." The ships entered the red atmosphere of Kara 9. Violent storms slammed into their hulls. Sensors failed one by one. Several ships were forced into crash landings. Fire and metal tore across the surface. The Deathworld welcomed them with destruction. When the dust settled, many were injured. Some were dead, but the living did not give up. They pulled survivors. From wreckage, they shared water and air. They formed small groups. Above them, hidden galactic drones recorded everything. The observers waited for panic. They waited for chaos. Instead, they saw order. Humans built shelters from broken ships. They marked safe zones. They treated wounds with limited tools. They stood together under a violent sky. As night fell, terrifying sounds echoed across the land. Massive creatures moved in the darkness, eyes glowing, claws scraping stone. Many species would have lost hope, but the humans did not. They armed themselves with tools and scrap. They took positions. Commander Rook looked at the dark horizon. He knew the galaxy believed this was the end, but deep inside, he felt something different. This was not an execution, it was a test, and humanity was about to answer. Life where death. Ruless the morning sun barely pierced the thick red clouds of Kara 9. Humans stirred from makeshift shelters, their faces tired but determined. Every step outside was a test. The land was harsh. Jagged rocks cut their boots. Toxic mists hissed through the air. Even breathing was a danger. Commander Rook walked among them. He touched the soil carefully. "This world would try to kill us," he reminded quietly, "but we must learn it before it destroys us." The first challenge came quickly. A predator, larger than any human had seen before, appeared on the ridge. Its skin was armored. Its teeth glinted like knives. It roared, shaking the ground. Many froze in fear, but the humans acted as one. They threw rocks, lured it into traps. It fought back, but they observed, learned its patterns. After hours, the creature retreated, injured. The humans had survived. Not just survived, they had learned. Water was scarce. Streams were acidic and burned the skin. Food was harder. Predators hunted smaller prey before the humans could reach them. But humans adapted. They built filtration devices from metal scraps. They hunted and stored what they could. Every failure became a lesson, every injury a reminder to be stronger. Children were part of the groups. They moved carefully, learning the world like students of a cruel teacher. They carried tools, learned to defend themselves, even in their fear. Courage grew. Nights were the deadliest. Caranine's predators moved freely in darkness. Humans lit fires in controlled circles. They kept watch in shifts. Even the smallest human could spot movement in the shadows. Teamwork became instinct. Unity became survival. As weeks passed, humans discovered strange caves. The rocks glowed faintly with energy. Some animals avoided these places. Commander Rook sent groups to explore carefully. They built crude shelters in these caves and discovered minerals that could be fashioned into tools, even weapons. Above them, the hidden drones of the galaxy recorded every moment. Observers whispered to each other, "They survive. Against all odds, it is impossible." But humans made impossible seem ordinary. They reinforced their shelters. They trained each other. They mapped the territory. Each day, they understood Caranine a little better. Each day, the Deathworld gave them lessons. And each day, humans became stronger. Commander Rook watched the horizon one evening. The red sky glowed with storms and lightning. "Remember," he said to his people, "this world does not forgive mistakes, but it rewards those who learn." The humans slept in shifts. Even dreaming was cautious. They imagined survival, not escape, not surrender. By the end of the cycle, the galaxy had almost forgotten about them. The council assumed the humans were dead. The media had moved on. But Caranine was alive with human life, and humans were alive, more alive than anyone had expected. And far above them, in the safety of the orbiting drones, galactic analysts felt a cold shiver. The Deathworld was not ending humanity. It was changing them, and the galaxy would soon see the result. Because on Caranine, death ruled, but humans were learning to rule it back. The first message that shook the Galaxymans had passed on Caranine. Humans had learned the storms, the predators, the poisonous lands. They had built small settlements, using metal and stone. Their fires glowed like tiny stars in the endless red wilderness. They had survived what no one else could. Above them, hidden in orbit, drones transmitted occasional images to the Galactic Council. The Council expected reports of death, chaos, despair. Instead, they saw humans walking freely, building shelters, carrying water, hunting carefully. Confused analysts stared at the screens. "This cannot be real," one muttered. "Humans, surviving." Then, a signal appeared, weak, fragmented, almost lost in the storm. It came from a human transmitter. A voice spoke, calm and steady. "We are alive." The council expected panic, fear, begging for rescue, but that was not what they heard. Commander Rook spoke clearly. "We have settled safely. Our systems are stable. We have food and water. We have defenses, and we are learning this world." The council was silent. The analysts whispered urgently, "This is impossible. No species survives Caranine for more than one cycle." The humans continued, "We do not need your rescue. We do not seek your pity. We survive because we must, because we are human." The message ended abruptly as storms interfered with the signal. Galactic leaders were unsettled. They had expected death, not reports of calm survival. They had expected weakness, not confidence. For the first time, the council felt uncertainty. For the first time, humans seemed dangerous. Back on Caranine, the humans did not celebrate. They treated the signal as a report, not a victory. They were cautious, disciplined, aware of every threat. Young recruits learned the land. They studied animals, the terrain, the storms. They marked safe routes, safe caves, and hunting grounds. Predators were still everywhere. Massive creatures stalked from hills and cliffs, but humans adapted to them. They learned to avoid, trap, and even use the predators against each other. Every encounter taught them strategy, endurance, survival. In the council chambers, whispers turned to panic. What are they becoming? Why are they not dying? They were supposed to fail. Meanwhile, Commander Rook gathered his officers. "We cannot assume the galaxy will leave us alone forever," he said. "We must continue to learn, to grow stronger. Every storm, every predator, every failure is a lesson." Children trained quietly under watchful adults. They learned to move silently, to climb rocks, to defend themselves. Even the smallest human could carry tools and follow commands. Even the youngest could survive where an adult of another species would perish. Another weak signal reached orbit. Weeks later, this time a map, drawn crudely, showing the locations of resources, caves, water streams, and dangerous zones. The council studied it nervously. How can humans understand this world so fast? Humans were not just surviving, they were thriving. They were learning what the Deathworld could not teach any other species, and in doing so, they sent a warning, silent but clear, to the entire galaxy. Their message was simple: we are alive, we are learning, do not test us, do not underestimate us. On Kara 9 storms raged and predators prowled, but humans moved with purpose, with calm, with unity. The first message had shaken the galaxy, but for humans, it was just the beginning. The Deathworld was teaching, and humans were listening carefully, because soon, the galaxy would realize, survival was only the start of what humans could achieve.